For today's post, I'm going to show you how I did a Stars and Stripe door hanger in Electric Quilt. And this quilt is a little bit different because the two ends have half blocks on two sides, and I want to show you how I did that in Electric Quilt. So I'm going to start by naming my project, and I'll call it Stars and Stripes, if I can spell correctly. And I'm going to start by adding some fabrics, and I'll go and I'll clear out the all of the fabrics currently in the sketchbook, and I'm going to go to the fabric library. For the fabrics for this project, I'm not going to use anything in my library, but I want to do an import of some fabrics that I saw out at Northcott, and they had a Stonehenge Stars and Stripe collection. And so I downloaded the zip file from their website, and it's in my download section. And so I'm going to select all of them, which is Control A. I'm going to select Open. And for this, I'm not going to actually put it in my sketchbook, but I'm also going to select Control A again. And now I'm just going to add it to the sketchbook. Actually, I meant to say I'm not going to put it in my library, but put it directly in my sketchbook. And I'm going to also import the other group of Stars and Stripe fabric. And again, Control A, Open. I need to now select Control A again, and it's important to remember you must do it both times, and I will add to sketchbook. And I can now close down the library. To start, I'm going to need an Easy Draw block, so I'm going to do Block, New Block, Easy Draw. And for this, I want the block width and height to be 4 by 4, the snaps to be 4 by 4, graph paper cells on, and I want that 4 by 4 as well. And I've also turned on Snap to Grid up above there. So I'm just going to use my pencil and draw the lines for my block. Very fast, very efficient. And because I've got the grid points set at 4 by 4, everything snaps very nicely into place. So let's color the star. I'm going to use this fun print for the center. And I'll spray can all the rest for the outside, and I'm going to add that to the sketchbook. Now I need one more Easy Draw block, and that I'm just going to do a grid with 4 columns, 1 row, and I've got a very quick rail fence block. Oops. I thought that was a solid red, but it looks like it's not, so I'll find the solid red. And I want this multi-printed star for the other patches. Okay, and I will add that to the sketchbook as well. So now I want to go and work on quilt, and for this quilt I want to actually have an on point, and my layout should be 3 by 1, and my finished block size is 4, no sashing. I go into the borders and I'm going to delete the borders that are out there. So in layer 1 I will set the block. And I'll start by the star blocks, and then if I do Control and select one of the other spaces, the rail fence block goes in. And you can see that it actually sort of slices the rails based on where we're putting it in the block. Now, what I will actually do is do some rotations, and I'm going to do this fairly quickly because I know what I'm looking for here. But you can definitely play with this. Okay, now let's move to the outside corners, or the half blocks. So for this, I actually need to go back to work on block, but I'm going to actually create a block now in Patch Draw. And I want to be in the Pieced tab within Patch Draw. And again, just keeping that 4x4 setting with the 4x4 divisions. Now, when I draw patches in Patch Draw, I have to draw all sides. It's not like Easy Draw where you just have to draw one line and it knows what you're trying to do, but you have to actually draw all the sides for each patch, even if there's a shared edge. Once you connect up the corners of the patch, you double click and you will get those arrows in the center and the handles around it, and that will tell you that you did complete the patch. And you can sort of see here that I'm getting that half patch, and I will color that. I'll use the red and the multi-print. And I can now add that to the sketchbook. And I want to go back to work on the quilt. And I'm actually going to zoom out and add the patch. Oh, sorry, that should have been added on layer 2. So let's do that over again. Okay, and now I do need to resize it. So these were all based on the assumption that the blocks were going to be 4x4. So I'm going to change that to 4x4. And I'm going to rotate that 45 degrees. And I've used the Adjust tool on the right. That gives me the tools to make those adjustments. And I'm going to snap the position to the grid. Now I've done the 45-degree turn. Now I can actually use the rotate block on the right and rotate, and now I'm going to use the Adjust tool again, and I'm going to snap that in place. And oops, and let's go back to layer 1 for a minute, and because I think what I just did is I put a half block in there, so I will get rid of that. Okay, back to layer 2. I've got the one side done, and now I can select it with the Adjust tool. I can do a Control-C and Control-V to get a copy. And I'm going to do one sneaky thing here, and that is actually add the whole project to the sketchbook, which will allow me to flip this block and rotate it. And now I can move that to this side, and I'm going to have to zoom out again to do it. And you can see there's just a little bit of space in there, so I'm going to actually turn off the snap to grid. And you know, this is sort of because I've got that I'm working with an on-point layout, so things don't necessarily always fall evenly within that grid there, or within the snap points. Okay, And I do want to recolor that last piece. So, and I'll just use that eyedropper to make sure I get the correct red. And do that. And close that down. Okay, now one of the nice things with EQ is even though I drafted some rail fence, I can actually still do foundations, and it will actually do them based on the block that I'm setting them in. So if I select one of those half square triangles in layer 1, I can print my foundation patterns, and I want to make sure size from quilt is on. I'll do a preview, and you can see that it prints out perfectly sized and accurate foundations for you to piece this. You can also do the same for those patch draw blocks that we did in layer 2. And so if I again do that, you can see those foundations as well. So this is a really quick table runner that you can get done in time for the 4th, and I hope that you have a great 4th. Thanks so much for watching.